Alright, and putting it back together after you've cleaned your gas tube and everything, you know, it's just like any other gas tube. You want to make sure it's clean and dry. You put your little end on like so, and you can slide your gas tube assembly into place. I put that on upside down. It goes like so. And I would like to stress again how awkward this is doing it around the camera. Once you've got all that into place, and what you can do is slide your rod up like so, and then you're going to start from this end. Sorry, I had a little interruption there. We'll start again. You want to put your gas tube in about halfway. You know, you can put your action all the way up. But you're going to start the spring from the back. And you're just going to thread it up on to your gas rod. Like so. The key here is you don't want to bend your gas rod, but the rod itself actually supports the spring. So as you slide this up in here, you're going to want to pull down on your gas tube a little bit to support the spring. And once you've got that lined up, turn the camera, you can kind of pull up on this to line your gas tube up with the spring. To where it goes over the end of that nut. You want to hold everything in place, and you want to pull back on your operating rod, release, whatever you want to call it, and you'll slide this, and this will not go back into place until alright, you have to get the spring and the rod lined up on here. When it does, you can pop it in that end right here, and you can slide this into place, and you take your roll pin, make sure all your parts are lined up. And like I said, this is very difficult to do around the camera, so alright, we've got it all lined up now. put your roll pin in there. Just tap your roll pin back in there very lightly. Like I said, you don't want to damage your roll pin. But if you do, you just have to replace it. They're cheap. They're not very expensive. You can buy like a whole box of them for $5. So if I damage it, I'm not really worried. I have spares. A good gunsmithing hammer would come in handy for this, because you don't want to mar up the finish. You just want to get that pin about even in there. That's about right. And then next we'll put in our trigger group. You just basically take your trigger group same way as you took it out. It'll kind of go in. Having a little bit of difficulty, like I said, around the camera. Alright. You can get it all lined up and it'll pop back into place. You want to make sure that your holes are lined up, which they are not. There we go. And you just, helps if you put the right pin in the right hole. The small pin goes in the small hole, larger pin goes in the large hole. You just tap them back into place. Like I said, you just tap them into place. Once you get down so far, you want to use your punch to set them. You'll feel them lock in. And then you want to check, make sure that they're evenly spaced, not protruding. Make sure the action and everything works. Alright, and then we'll set our vise back up here where we can put our forearm back on. Alright, you just take opposite of the way we took it off. You just slide your forearm all the way down, and you put your nose cap back on. And you put your little bushing on like so. And it does take a little bit to line all this stuff up. I have found if everything's just not in the right spot, it will not go on. Oh. And you just turn your screw back in. Threads back in, and it's a long screw, so it takes forever. Alright, now that we've got our vise replaced where we need it, so it'll be in view of the camera, and you just put your little sight back on and thread your screws on in for the sight. You wouldn't want to play with these a whole lot if you was gonna, you know, be using irons. But since we're gonna scope this gun, it came scoped, we're gonna put it back the way it was. And if you ever wanted to take this side off, there is a screw here, but you'll have to drift your front sight out because there's another screw under here, and we don't really have no sense. We're not going to be refinishing this gun or anything. All we're going to do is just give it a good clean and, you know, put the scope back on it, make sure everything's, you know, make sure everything's set up, and then we'll zero it in. But basically, that's the Remington 742. I'm sorry I couldn't show you how to take the barrel and the bolt out, but since I don't own this gun, I don't own any Remington 742, 7400, 740, 760, anything like that where you would need that wrench for, so I'm not going to purchase one. But if I ever run across one, get my hands on one, I will show y'all how to take the barrel. And you know, once you take that barrel out and you just drop that one pin, your bolt comes out and you can clean your bolt really good. But till that, you know, you can just open up your bolt and spray it down with some brake free or, you know, aerosol cleaner, and, you know, spray it out with a shop hose, you know, shop air, get it all cleaned out. But that is basically the 742. You know, a lot of people have problems with these guns cycling. In my past experience, I've shot a lot of them. There's usually, I don't know if I can take the camera off the tripod and zoom in here. The problem is usually with these rails in here, they'll get all gunked up, and the gas ports and all in the bolt, which you would need to actually take the bolt out and clean it. That, and surprisingly, the majority of the problems with these guns are the clips. Clips don't last very long in them. If you have one of these, I'd say go ahead and order you a couple, you know, if you're going to use it a lot. You know, I wouldn't leave them loaded for long periods of time, you know, stuck in a safe or something like that, because the springs tend to wear out really, really fast in them, you know, over a few years. But other than that, and they won't cycle any kind of ballistic tips or anything like that. They'll only cycle soft lead nose, you know, or full metal jackets, to where it's not going to bind up, you know, which is basically any automatic. But that's the 742. And any questions, comments, or concerns, shoot them my way. I'll do what I can. And I don't want to stress, I'm just your hobby gunsmith. I'm not a professional gunsmith. I just do this for fun. I don't do it for a living, you know. I just like to tinker. So as always, y'all tell me what y'all think of that right there.